Well, hello everyone and welcome to the Briarcrest Christian School Student Ministries podcast. My name is Jason Ellis, the Director of Student Ministries here at Briarcrest, and we are so excited that you guys have decided to join us today as we get to talk with the Leslie Lynn here.
Yes.
And so what we wanted to do, what I thought would be really fun for us, is to get to sit down and as the incoming student government vice president, just get to hear from you.
And
kind of, I know we're trying to sound super professional here at the Briarcrest Christian School Student Ministries podcast. But let's start out with this. Like, tell us kind of how you ended up at Briarcrest.
So I was at a school where I went to junior kindergarten there, and I went through 7th grade. And then in middle school, I kind of was like, I think I need, my school at the time I felt like didn't have the opportunities that I needed. I didn't really get the attention I felt like I needed needed. So I started looking at schools, like websites and stuff like that around the area, and I knew like one person at Briarcrest who I did like community theater with, and then I shadowed and I made like 2 friends like right there, and I was like, that's it, this is where I want to go. Walked in and I was like, this is it, this is like the place where God wants me to be.
Wow. Now what grade was that that you came here?
I came in 8th grade.
Okay, so in the tail end of middle school, which is everybody's favorite time of life. But
Yes.
so came in the tail end of middle school, so you come in as a new student, and now 4 years later, you're about to assume the VP position here at school. So what made you want to run for that position of leadership?
When I came in 8th grade, I saw student council, and I was like, those are the people I want to be. I want to be the people who helps with the orientation. I want to help with the open houses. I want to meet people. I want to be someone people can look up to. And I went to SLU, and that was like, I want to be a leader. I want to be a person people can look up to. So I was like, as Mr. Tackett told me, vice president's like all the glory and respect, hardly any work. And I was like, perfect. That is my spot. Yes. And it has president in the title, so I was like, I sound official.
And if the president is absent for any particular reason, you get to assume the role, but then hand all the problems created right back to him when he gets back. Okay, so you mentioned SLU, Student Leadership University.
Yes.
You've done 3 years of that, right?
Yes, and I've been an ambassador for them for 2.
Okay, so since you are an ambassador, I think you're prepared to talk
about.
Yeah, so tell, just for anybody who might be aware, like, we throw those letters around a lot here at Briarcrest, right? Like, we're always inviting people to go on these trips and whatnot, but just for somebody who might not know what that means or what that is, how would you describe it?
So SLU, Student Leadership University, is, well, before quarantine, it was a place where you could go for a week and learn leadership skills. Yeah. So you just listen to, I guess sessions is sessions what they call it, and they have amazing speakers come from all over the world. Like we had LA, we had a guy from LA, Sean McDowell, he came and spoke to us for Rush. Brent Crow, love Brent Crow. Dr. Jay Strack is amazing. And then, so 101, we have 4 different levels. So 101, you get to go to Orlando, which is super fun because you get to go to Universal, you get to go to SeaWorld, all those fun spots, and you get to have sessions in those areas, which is super fun and different and interesting. And then you have 201, which you get to go to Washington, D.C., see all the monuments. I met incredible people who spoke to us. Like we had Black Hawk Down is what it's called? Yes, we had him speak to us. We had MLK's Jr.'s daughter come speak to us. We had the chaplain of the Senate come speak to us, like really important people, great people. And then 301, we had like an old prime minister of the UK come and talk to us. We get to go to all these places. And 301, you get to go to Europe, which is one of the reasons.
You go to France. You fly into London, right?
Yes, we fly into London. You get to go on a ferry to France, and that ferry's kind of rough for the first hour, but after you get over the seasickness, it's fine. And then you go to France. You go to Normandy, the beaches in Normandy. You get to have a session there, and it's so wonderful. You get to bring back a tube of sand. My grandfather loved that. And then you get to go to London, Oxford, all those fun places.
Yeah, and you mentioned this was something that we haven't been able to do this summer because all of them got either moved online or canceled.
But they're doing it online, yes.
Yeah, and they're trying to, but I appreciate that because I had this thought a couple of weeks ago that 3 of our 6 student government members went to SLU.
Yes, they were in my group too.
Yeah, so I mean, like half of our student government is actually living out the leadership that y'all are being taught in SLU. as somebody who's been, and I'm one of the drivers who kind of make these trips happen, like it's fun for me to see that because I've seen it. It's actually impacted my own leadership. But not only that, it's fun to see you guys flourish in your leadership, coming from an 8th grader who knew the one person you did community theater with, the 2 people you met at on your shadow, to now being the person. And I think another word to describe what you're talking about being on student government is culture maker, right? Like you're able to kind of set the tone, set the pace. You're in front of people, you're doing announcements, you're the one who's going to be organizing all those games for chapel, right?
So exciting.
Yeah.
Can't wait to embarrass my friends.
Hey, and your friends love to be embarrassed by you.
Yes.
So that is a two-way street right there. But no, so what are some things like you kind of hope for this year? So as you step in to that position, having the opportunity to change culture, create things, encourage your classmates, because I mean, the way you talk about Briarcrest, I saw this in your video for student government. I hear it now. You feel like this is a special place.
Yes,
so,
definitely.
what are some things you would want to encourage? Maybe say the incoming freshmen. So they're going to show up day one, wide-eyed, like, oh my gosh, really small fish in a really big pond. What would you want to encourage them with?
I would tell you, the teachers and everyone's going to tell you, only sign up for like 1 or 2 clubs. Do not listen to that. Sign up for anything and everything that interests you. Yes, it's a lot to handle, but it's so much fun, and you get to meet so many great people. Like Wilson Society is a great volunteer club, and I met Jake Perkey on that because he had to drive me one time, and I had no idea who he was. And now I consider him, a good acquaintance I can talk to if I need to. Yeah. And then, I do Medical Professions Club. I'm the vice president of that, and we have speakers come. So if you're interested in that, my mom came one time, and she got us to use syringes on an orange. So that was fun. And then,
that's awesome.
Yes, Model UN. I'm going to plug Model UN because I love Model UN. So do Model UN. That's a big conference that we get to do, and so anyone who does it loves it. So,
so explain real quick. You were a big fan of Model UN. Like, what is Model for the person who hasn't gotten to do it? I know that you've got the Coach Bernhardt and the Miss Neal. They were helping last year, right? So those are 2 reasons to already go ahead and do it.
Yes. Model UN is Model United Nations, so you get to pretend like you're the UN. And you get to pick your own country. Like last year, I was with Lawson Ewing, who's the president, and I was with Julia Abel and Callum Miller.
So a bunch of shy people, right? Like,
yes, obviously. No personality.
Yeah, no personalities in that group.
No dominant personalities, yes.
No.
And so you get to pick a country, like we picked Estonia, and they have really bad health care over there. So we got to, brainstorm, say, okay, how can we fix the health care? How can we ask the UN for assistance on their health care? Nothing really happens, sadly, but you get to pretend, you get to debate with people, and some people get really angry, and it's really funny to watch sometimes. So
no one in your group, though,
no,
right?
No,
none of the people who you just named, right?
Or like sometimes you don't get picked to make your speech, and then like Lawson, he'd be like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "It's okay, Lawson. You had your time. It's okay. It's okay for someone else."
No, but I think that's cool because you get to actually once again, that's like leadership training.
Yes, it's hard to speak in front of all those people.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you got a bunch of eyes looking right back at you, and you're the only one talking, and so that's kind of that's an intimidating thing. But that's a muscle that's kind of built over time. The more you get to do that. Okay, so another thing you just mentioned, and I just thought this was fun, just finding any opportunity to serve. And before we started recording, you mentioned helping with the track team.
Yes, I was the track manager. I hate to brag about that, but it was super fun because I am not athletic at all. That's not my skill. That's not where my talents are. But I knew I had a bunch of friends on it, and I wanted to help them, and I was free for the spring, so I was like, why not? Something different. Yeah. It's interesting. Bernhardt's the coach. I like Bernhardt. My friend was also helping me be the track manager, and obviously I love my friends, so I was like, I got to do it.
Well, and it's fun that you get to yell at everybody else to
yes,
go and
I'd be like, pick up the pace, and they're like, Leslie, you don't even know.
But you have authority because you're the manager,
exactly.
So they need to listen.
I made them call me Coach Leslie, and Miss Neal got mad at that. So.
Did that work? Did they actually call you?
Some of them did, yes.
Good for them. Okay, so just another thing. One of the things I'm always trying to plug as the year starts are D groups.
Yes.
So I know you've been a part of a D group. So once again, speaking to the incoming freshmen, or even like the sophomore or junior who have never taken the initiative or just decided to plug into a D.
Meet some more people.
Yeah. Why would you encourage somebody to plug into a D group?
I love D group because I had my circle, like inner circle of friends, and then there was like another inner circle of friends that we were kind of friends with, but like didn't really know. And that was just such a great way for me to like connect with those girls who I thought like, oh, I only have like one class with them. I don't really have anything in common with them. But you know, they can say their struggles or what they're dealing with at the moment. And I can be like, I have totally been in that position, or like, you know, they have been like, I'm totally in that position. It's just a great way to connect with more people in your grade and just like feel like, hey, like I have people who can support me. I have a good support system. And also you get to meet girls who want to journey in their faith, or boys who want to further their faith and stuff like that.
Well, I like that because that gets to something we were talking about earlier, and I'll get to that in a minute, but just the idea that like you're around people who are struggling in the same, they're in the same environment. We all go to the same school, right? You're in the same grade. So it was you and a bunch of juniors, now rising seniors. And you would hear them say, I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, me too.
Yeah.
And you probably felt, at least in some of those instances, like you were alone, right? Until somebody kind of drug that out to the light of their lives. And you're like,
I'm
oh.
the only one in pain. I'm the only one. But then it's like, no, you're not.
Yeah, and I think too, I read this the other day and I thought it was fascinating. So if you actually read Genesis 1 and 2, you see that God creates Adam. Adam is alone. God says it's not good. There's this idea of loneliness. Sometimes we think that loneliness, that feeling of being alone, is something that is because of our sin, but sin didn't happen until Genesis 3. And I think that desire for community is actually just because we're made in God's image. It's not because of any sort of sin, right? Like, so I think that helps provide that. Now, one other thing too that you mentioned earlier was the idea of just kind of like maybe your vision for a chapel, or even a breakout session, right?
Yes.
And we don't know exactly what big chapel groups or anything like that will look like yet because, you know, COVID. But as we kind of plan for that in the fall, just what was do you mind sharing?
So I had an idea of doing a mental health chapel because I have had a lot of people, especially during quarantine, have like talked to me and been like, hey, I am really struggling right now in mental health with anxiety. You know, I'm going through some depression stages, you know, nothing really fun that anyone wants to go through. And I think it's great. And some people don't know how to like, oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Or what to do with that.
Yeah,
Like you're in that state and you don't know where to take it. You know you want help, you don't know where to start, so you just kind of feel like you're kind of imprisoned to kind of your circumstances. Yeah, exactly.
And so, you know, and especially like at Briarcrest, a lot of us are like, how can I do this with Christ? How can I find Christ in this? And, you know, just have a panel or something. You know, we have teachers. Miss Neal had a breakout session last year talking about anxiety and depression. I went to that, and that was wonderful. Loved it. And it was really, really helpful. And, you know, it just helped. And I think the chapel will help students be like, hey, like, it's okay to talk to a Briarcrest person. You know, I don't have to pretend like, oh, I'm happy all the time, like Briarcrest bubble a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I like that, too, because one of the reasons I even wanted to ask you the question, because, like I said, I don't know what chapels will look like this year, but in asking you the question, I think that already the way you answered that, the way we're conversing about that, that helps destigmatize that. Because I think sometimes we'll hear, like, you'll ask somebody, how are you doing? And my like go-to response is, I'm living the dream. But like that, to be honest, like that dream some days could be more like a nightmare. I mean, and so we don't normally like lead in with, you know, all of our problems. How are you? I'm fine, right? Like that's kind of how we think that we're the only ones who are struggling with something. And because we're the only ones struggling with something, we can't take it anywhere because we don't want to, you know, burden somebody with it. We don't want to, you know, bring that out into the light because we might be ostracized and be like we're the only ones struggling with that. But I mean, truth be told, like we
all kind of struggle with it.
Exactly, and I worry between me, you, and anybody who will watch this. I worry when I talk to somebody who's like, no, I don't have any struggles. No, I don't have anything going on that's negative. And I'm like, okay, maybe like that can be true for about 10 minutes. Yeah. But like we've all got stuff going on. So I think that's really encouraging. Okay, now, visions for your senior class for this year.
Oh my
so
gosh.
y'all are rising into this position of leadership. Mm-hmm. You have the opportunity within the position of leadership to shape the culture. Y'all, I mean, everybody's going to look up. I mean, you guys will look like monsters to those freshmen. You'll be like, oh my gosh, these seniors are they're so old and they know so much.
Tall. We have so many guys in my grade who are like 6 foot over.
This
like
is
6
true.
Foot, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
This is true. So what would you hope just for your senior year, for your senior class, the class of 2021?
When It came out that who all got the positions for student council, I literally got 15 texts that were like, you better make it fun or else. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And I think, yes. So our group chat right now at student council is like, we're just thinking of ways like, okay, how can we make it different? How can we make the homecoming themes different? How can we make the pep rallies different? How can we make it more fun, more engaging? We want everyone to feel like, hey, like this is my senior year, I'm a senior, or like even like freshmen through juniors, be like, hey, like I'm a student at Briarcrest, and we want you to feel pride, that you go to Briarcrest, be like, my school is obviously the best. That's what we want you to feel, because that's how we all feel about Briarcrest. So we want everyone to be like proud that they're a saint. We want everyone to have fun. We want everyone to do good.
What would be an option for somebody, let's say sophomore, so they're a rising sophomore, they've been here a year, they got a feel for what life is like in the high school. How could they relay to y'all something that they think might be fun? Like, what would be a way for them to come to you and be like, hey, I've got this idea, just for something to try? Is there a way to like reach out to you guys, get a hold of you, grab you in the hallway? Like, you're very extroverted, so I feel like you would be up for that. But like, is there a way for somebody to do that?
Some people don't feel comfortable because they may not know us as well. So I'm stealing this idea from my friend Colby. She had the idea of Google Docs. So like kind of like an anonymous thing where you can like, if you don't want to say like it's your idea or like, you know what I mean, that you could send it in to us and we would get an email notification and be like, oh, look at this idea. It could be like for a theme or like it could be for a game or something like that. Or just text us. We are like the most open. I feel like everyone has my phone number. Or like someone will have it. So just text me, text any one of us. We are so open to it. Or just write a note, just put it with one of my teachers and be like, give this to Leslie.
Well, and I like that too, because you're saying, hey, like you want everybody to participate in this process next year.
We want everyone's ideas.
Yeah.
Because we only have so many ideas.
So just kind of as we round third, head for home, just any last words, any last thoughts, any last bits of encouragement, maybe to somebody like just kind of, because I know as you were talking earlier, we all kind of have those ups and those downs. And I, since you probably showed up here the first day of 8th grade, you probably have spent some time on some mountaintops and some time in some valleys. Any encouragement to the person who might find themselves right now in the valley? Like they're just sitting there and they're just like, man, this is tough. Like, I haven't seen a lot of my friends for a while. I'm kind of ready to get back to school. I'm maybe nervous about getting back to school. Any words of encouragement to that person?
You're not the only one going through that, because I have definitely had those thoughts. Like when I pulled in today to Briarcrest, I was like, oh my gosh, what should I park in my own parking spot? And so don't be afraid to reach out, especially to your teachers, because that's one thing I love about Briarcrest is your teachers care so much. I have so many teachers who are probably like, oh my gosh, Leslie, like we get it. No, I'm joking. But they really do care. They really want to see you succeed, even if you think like, oh, Miss So-and-so doesn't like me, or Mr. So-and-so doesn't like me. No, they do, I promise. And they really want you to be happy where you are, and they really want you to come from that low valley back up to the mountain. So
yeah. And in the process, just kind of seeing how Christ is the one who can be with us in the valley, grow us out of that. And that's one of the things that I know that I've talked to so many students that are in your grade rising up, like the Lord's used this place in that way. So that's encouraging. Well, thank you so much. Want to thank everyone for watching. And here's the encouragement. We'd love for you to subscribe, because we're going to have more interviews and more people on. And we don't want you to miss any of these episodes. I know Leslie's a subscriber across all the platforms.
Of course.
Even the ones she's never heard of. But would love for you to subscribe. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you soon here at the Briarcrest Christian Schools Student Ministries Podcast.